Lorry One, a little impromptu project. I know I usually do trains, but yes, as many of you have noticed, I am a bit of a computer geek as well, to put it mildly. As a child with disabilities, I grew up on basically an Apple II, mainly using it in schools, and briefly in a summer school I attended in a few other places. This computer, which is what we're looking at right now, or one of these types. In fact, it was a very one of these types, an E, basically saved my life to a certain extent. It made me functional in life. So as sort of my own tribute to the system, I decided a while back to get into retro gaming and computing, etc., because I wanted to play Oregon Trail. I wanted to play all those other math games and other games that helped me out all as a child, and I wanted to enjoy them again. And so anyway, I fixed those up. This unit, on the other hand, was bought as a part source to fix one of those. I bought two Apple II Platinum Platinums, which is the highest of the high swan song, if you will, of the Apple II, with 128K on them and pretty much every bell and whistle you can think of. I thought those two would be basket cases, but as it turns out, I was able to fix them both. I didn't even have to they were bought as a package, I should say. I didn't have to strip one to get the other going because it was so minimal what it needed. So I bought this as a part source or one of those. It never got used for that. And then I was thinking I'll turn it into a gaming computer, but then I lost interest in that project and it never happened. And so, not so long ago, I tuned into one of my favorite channels on YouTube because, again, I am a bit of a computer geek. Lazy Gamer Reviews, or LGR, and he had pulled out an Apple IIe. And I thought, oh wow, it'd be great if I had one of those. Even though it blew a Rafer cap on him, I should also note that I still have them here. I'll more on that later. So I had this thing sitting in storage again. So I pulled it out and I thought, okay, does this work or does it not work? It's time for this thing to crap or get off the pot, if you will. So I basically took it, plugged it in, turned it on, and it beeped. I didn't even hook it up to a monitor because I thought it would never work. And I thought, oh, okay. But I'm sure it'll fail diagnostics because it has the infamous, what is this MT RAM, as you can see here, which is known for failing. And I thought, oh, one of those will be dead. No, I ran the diagnostics by hitting both Apple keys over here, and it actually passed. So I was kind of stunned. And again, you'd think this thing I again acquired for $100 with all the cards missing, you would think it had something wrong with it. Otherwise, why would someone pull the parts? My only theory is that these keys scared someone off. And while a few of the keys didn't work initially, I messed with it and got it working pretty well. Still missing a few of them, but I'm not sure it's worth fixing. And also, I happen to know for a fact if you mess with these too much, you'll break them. So I think I'm going to leave it as is. So what I'm up to now is, since this thing passed tests, I unwittingly got myself another project. I'm going to build myself an Apple IIe. Looks like. So I'm already in the midst of working on it. I'm actually, as you can see here, I've already pulled this off. Please note you have to remove screws. I just kind of put that on to show you what the whole unit looked like. As you can see, the top is faded. This thing has clearly had a bit of a life in the sun. As you can see, the Apple logo is faded on here. I don't know how well that's going to show up. And it's been around the block a couple of times. All that said, though, I'm going to, much like the Bionic Man, I'm going to rebuild it and make it better than it was before, in many other ways. It has the infamous, I'm sorry I didn't put the light on before, I just realized it was off. It has the infamous Rafa Cap-equipped power supply from Apple. That's going to have to get replaced. I'm bidding on a replacement. I have an outfit that rebuilds power supplies I usually deal with, but I decided on this because of the location and how hard it is to get parts up here. I found another one on eBay I'm bidding on that's an aftermarket one, which I know is good, that's been overhauled, or rather didn't even use these, so I'm going to use that instead. If I get it, that is. It is the enhanced model, as you saw before. The RAM, again, tested out fine. I've just finished I just was finishing, actually, work on this. I had a problem with my display card, and as you see, I fixed that, my display adapter thing. And what I did there is, you see, I've soldered the two pieces together. This is an old trick to get the display port to work correctly on this. It's corroded as heck. It's strange, because this appears to have been from a dry environment. Whatever the case, yep, it somehow survived. And yeah, I've even ordered some extra jacks because I have a feeling at some point either this one or one of my others is going to need it. I have gone over this with a brush, but it hasn't really cleaned up. So next I'm going to go over this, I guess, with an alcohol wipe or a few different wipes and just carefully clean the surface as best I can to get this as clean as I possibly can. And hopefully get this thing back in service really soon. But again, yeah, an enhanced Apple IIe. No RAM expansion, nothing. As for the RAM expansion, though, I did find a way around this. I found an original 64K expander, not megs, not gigabytes, but K, just to make that clear for you youngins out there. 64K was a big deal back in the day. This already has 64K on board. I'm going to add another 64K here with the stock expansion. I also bought an aftermarket one because I don't know which one of these is going to work. Both sellers say they'll do a return if it fails, so I'm not too concerned, but I just wanted to have more than one option as these parts are harder and harder to come by. So anyway, today, since I've done that first mod, I'm going to spend the day cleaning and tidying this thing up. I've already run this a few times. I do have a disc controller for it, which comes from another Apple IIe that I bought that for $50 online. Don't ask. And you really don't want to ask. That thing looked like it had been bathed in water, it looked like, or stored in like a swamp. Although apparently it was in the basement someplace, and it was in some school, and it was trashed. The two drives that came with it are frozen up. I wound up on actually 2 other computer projects I did. I used them as hard drive enclosures to sort of make my sort of faux PC, Apple II PC project work. Just beyond anything I would try, but the disk card looks okay, so I'll try one of those once I finally get a drive that works with it. And yeah, that's where I'm going to go. So for right now, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, get more of this dust off this thing, and start making it look something resembling presentable. Since I've got it this far apart, it seems silly not to go the extra few miles. There's some creepy crawly things laying around long since deceased, which I would like to get rid of as well. And then I'll proceed from that. I'm going to have to put feet on it. There are feet missing from the back, but I have those on order. Anyway, that should all work out, and hopefully I will have a running Apple by the time I'm done with this project. And in case there was any doubt about this thing being functional, well, there you go, system okay. And again, all nice and cleaned up now. I went through and cleaned a lot of things out. Keyboard's still kind of wonky, funky, whatever you want to call it, but it does work. And again, you see this is the enhanced version. Next step is going to be, let me actually turn this off because I don't want to push the Rafer caps in here any more than I want to. I do not recommend using this, but I'm just doing it because whatever. I just don't have a power supply and I do have it on order, so I'm just taking a bit of a chance. I don't recommend that, just to make it very clear. But in any case, next step is going to be, of course, when the power supply arrives, I'm going to plug that in. I'm going to put the 128 64 expansion in here, and that'll be it. I should be able to then start gaming with it. Well, once the drive shows up, and I have to see if my disk drive card works. I may have to get another one of those. But anyway, onwards and upwards. Talk about seek and ye shall find. I thought I didn't have a disk drive for this, but as you can see, looking around in my storage area thing, I found this vintage Apple II Disc 2, the original design that Steve Wozniak developed for the Apple II. And I'd already known I had this. This is that Apple II Disc 2 controller card I had from that other Apple II that was basically trashed with corrosion. So now I think I'm going to give this a try. I only have 64 gigs of, pardon me, God, I'm losing my head, 64K of memory. But I think what I'm going to do now, because I have all these parts together, is try to hook this up and maybe get this thing running a disk. Okay, so what we have here is an original 1978 design, but not built, Disc 2 card. This is exactly what Steve Wozniak put in the original Apple II when he built it back in the day. I mean, way back in the day. It has 2 controllers on it. As you can see, 2 drive interfaces. This last one here is bent a little, but that's okay. I'm not going to use that. I just need one. So now I'm going to hook this in. Now, I'm told that you have to be very careful with these prongs and pins, and I've been told that these need to line up perfectly. Let's see if I can get you in here right. I've already grounded myself, by the way. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to... Well, first I'm going to try to get this in the range. Let's line this shot up right here, and I'm just going to push this in as such, making sure I line all of these ports up correctly. The problem is there's no, even though this is a keyed ribbon, there is no key for it, strangely enough. Very strange. According to a video online I'm watching right now, I think that's how it's supposed to go. So the first, see, the outer red goes to number 2, that red line, so I'm assuming that's correct. I don't think so. Yeah, that has to be it. So this apparently is how it is supposed to go. So now, with that in place, let's push this back in again. Make sure I have my alignment right. I don't want to bend anything. There we go. I can now put this into the computer itself. And that should do it. That should be good to go. Alrighty. So now let me see about firing this thing up, and hopefully not having a catch fire. That'd be really cool if I could do that. Okay, I'm back at it again on this Apple IIe. I'm not exactly sure what happened last time with that disk controller card. I'm starting to think the problem was that the card itself was bad, because it just wouldn't do anything. It could also be a compatibility issue, but I'm not sure. So what I did to solve the problem, quite bravely, is to go out and basically buy literally a new one. I've ordered a Yellowstone disk controller card from Big Mess of Wires, so that'll eventually get here. Meantime, I wanted to work with what I could work with. This is an aftermarket 80 column / memory expander card for this particular unit, which I'm going to need to make it work most software. It's from a company called Pacemark Technologies, and it is actually marketed as a combination 64K RAM expander, and if you look at the back here, text graphics card. So this apparently is an aftermarket card that's supposed to handle this job, built in 1989. That's all fine, but the one thing I'm not sure of is whether that is compatible with this version of the computer. Well, I've done all the research, and from what I can tell, this will take the equivalent of what an Apple IIe Platinum would, because there are a few different variants. Again, this is the Enhanced 2E, so it should be essentially the same as the Platinum E was essentially an Enhanced 2E, just sold off the shelf, pardon me, for that, with all the equipment that you would find on the Enhanced 2E, and of course this particular card included. Now, that said, you might have one of these with a card in the auxiliary slot, and I'll show that to you in a second. The difference being that the extra card could just be, as it turns out, because this is a really crazy convoluted thing Apple came up with, a 1K 80 column card, which all that does is give you the ability to display 80 columns on your screen. It doesn't expand the RAM. For most applications to work, though, you need 128K and the 80 column card, so you want one of these. The question is this the one I'm looking for? Well, there's only one way to find out. I've now just pulled the top off my computer, off the Apple II. Camera's focusing nicely, I see. And anyway, we're going to stick it right here in this auxiliary slot. Let me angle you down so you can see exactly where I'm going to put it. And I'm going to make sure that this thing says to keyboard is pointing this way. My keyboard is, again, this way, much like the sign is pointing. And so essentially this should go right in like that. Hopefully it will. I'm not going to force anything. I'm just going to be very careful here. Again, I'm not sure why this was stripped down. Hopefully it's not because there was something wrong with this motherboard. That's a very tight fit, isn't it? Doesn't work right. I can always go back and try the deoxid. I did buy myself some deoxid, which is pretty much, as I understand, standard with these things. And now I am going to attempt to see if this thing will power on and hopefully be reliable. Again, I have the arrow pointing to the keyboard. In fact, I'll take you off the camera here and take you off the stand here and show you. Oop, pardon me. Again, I have, as you can see here, I have it pointed to its keyboard in this direction. I've pressed it down thoroughly. I've also ground it myself before I did this. Again, note on that. And I'm assuming this will work. Well, let's give it a try. So again, I have a rather infamous blue screen on my TV because this is going to an upscaling DVD player. Ignore the flickering, that's just because of the camera. I'm going to turn my switch on and see if this thing actually kicks over. I know it'll start. I don't know whether it'll actually boot. Let's try it. There it goes. Yep, it worked. Let me just do diagnostics. Took a few times to get it into diagnostic mode, but as you see, it is working. We're going to check to see if this thing works now, and I want to make sure of it because this card, one of the reasons why I bought it is because it does come with a guarantee. So if it gets through diagnostics, I should be ready to rock and roll. Color pattern still, though this is nerve-wracking. Come on, you can do it. Seems to have frozen. That's not a good sign. Whoop. System okay. Woohoo! All right. Oh, I was about to turn blue there. So, very clearly, this is good to go. The next thing I'm going to have to do also is to swap out this power supply. This has still got the Rafa caps on it. It has not been touched by me at all, and I don't think the previous owner did, judging by the way this thing was treated. Again, it's still missing the 3 keys. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get that replaced. I've got an aftermarket power supply in there, but that is good news. I now have the 128 80 column display thing in there. I could probably use a serial card. I think I got one of those sitting around from that wrecked Apple II. But yeah, nice big step forward for me. I now have 128K of memory according to the diagnostic system, pardon my expression. As far as I know, that should mean I should be good to go here and I shouldn't have to do anything else to it. Just have to wait now until I get my disk controller card in and I can fire this thing up and play some really cool games with it. So I will continue then, once that's all done. Alrighty, back once again on my Apple IIe. In the last part of this sort of edited together video, I installed the aftermarket 80 column / 64K memory expander card in the slot, as you'll see right here in a second. As such, in that slot right there. Today, I am ready to actually get this thing ready to start. I have, if I remember where I put it, of course, that always happens when I'm about to do something. Ah, here it is. I have got myself a disc controller card, but not just any disc controller card. I've been looking around trying to find one that would work with the old disc 2s because I'm embarrassed to admit that I cannot find my Unidisc drive. It's been a while since I had it out. The pandemic happened, things happened. I suddenly wanted to build a new computer. I was going to build one out of this unit, and I just wound up building one a different way so it would get built quicker, because modifying this into a case would take too long and I didn't have the access I needed to the tools. I just worked with what I had and got it going. But anyway, yeah, as a result, I kind of put things away in a hurry and didn't really pay attention to where I put them, and I have no clue as to where I put that Unidisc drive that I had that was tested and functioning fully. So I'm going to have to use a Disc 2 drive, and that's a problem, because these computers did not work with a Disc 2 drive out of the box, and while I do have a Disc 2 drive controller, as you saw in one of the previous parts of this video, that I did attempt to use, it didn't work. And from what I can tell, that's actually down to it having an issue in terms of its functionality. So, what am I going to do? Well, I went to Big Mess of Wires, and I got this. This is one of their Yellowstone controllers. This is a unique little gadget here because it will work with any Apple disk drive. Any Apple disk drive, I'm told. The Unidisc, the Disc 2, the Apple 3x5, anything on any Apple II, with obviously exception of the Apple IIc line because they don't have these slots, because you have to be able to put in a slot. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this in slot number 6, which is way back here. First, I'm going to apply, as per Adrian of Adrian's Digital Basement, some deoxit, because putting that other card in gave me the creeps the other day. I really had to force it in, and I do not feel comfortable doing that. So I'm going to put deoxit in this and install it that way. I'm not sure. I also think I'm probably going to pull it out of this one. I'm probably going to try to look for an original Apple IIe first gen card in this and see if that'll work. Actually all set, so I'm just going to aim it and just zap a little bit into the slot, into the socket here. This little drip. Oh, not that much, not that much. Stripping out of the wrong ends. I'll have to clean that up in a second here. Luckily, this is supposedly very good for the system. So I'll go and just put it in 5. Let me go over number 6 now, where I really need it. Oh, I don't like that. It's going everywhere but where it needs to go. Of course it wasn't going to be that easy. That's just what I'd be expecting it to be. Okay, I'm going to call that done. Let me put this someplace else safely in storage. Put it back in the package for the time being. I don't want to get this stuff everywhere. Mess my carpet up, that would be really bad. So I'll just let it sit right back in the old plastic box. And let me go dry off that little bit there. 1 second, folks. Here it is again. I'm going to ground myself again by touching the surface. I usually just do that, kind of going LGR style. So that way he usually does it. I have a lot of respect for that method because it seems to work well for me too. I never had any problem with doing it any other way with the darn strap, etc. So here's what I have here. There are 2 drives here. I'm trying to figure out which one is drive 1 and which is drive 2. I'm assuming J1 is drive 1. What's nice also about this drive is for the original Disc 2 drives, which didn't have a key in them. The original Disc 2, I should say, driver didn't have a key in them. This does, so you can't put the disc in backwards. You just have to follow the key and you will put it in right, which is more than I can say for the original design. Apple II Disc 2 drive controller thing. The original disc controller card, as it did not have a key, and put it in J1. So let me go drag this right through the top. It's clear this thing had more accessories in here because you see there are a few extra holes in it. I only want to put it through 6. Maybe this thing didn't have a drive. Maybe this guy was a hardcore geek and just liked to run his stuff through audio or just typed all of his commands in her. I don't know. I doubt it, but you never know. Let me now carefully thread this through and not damage anything. So again, I'm going to put this in J1 using the keys on here. Guess I want to make sure which way this is supposed to go. I thought it'd be a little bit easier, but it turns out the key is backwards. Be right back, folks. Okay, I don't know how much of this recorded and etc. But I found that it's supposed to apparently be this red stripe lined up with the white dot. As we can see on the board here, there's a white dot. I'll try to orient this so you can see it. That white dot needs to be aligned with this red stripe right there, and it is. So that's in. So supposedly that's correct. Still nervous as hell, but I've checked everything millions of times over. It has to be right. So this is going to go into slot 6 as recommended by everyone I've found. Stuff the wire out a little bit further so it can reach. There it is, into slot 6. Okay, so now I'll go and I'll pop open the drive. It's labeled number 2, but it doesn't matter. This is actually going to be drive 1. Let's go and see if she will start. I'm waiting for smoke to come out of this, even though I've been told point blank that this is the right way to go. This is independent. Cables don't have a polarity tab here. I'm wondering, is there any other way I can get this tab in there? No, because then it turns down that way, so it has to go in like that. Okay, number 6. Check this again a million times. Let's see if she works. Oh boy. Here goes nothing. Smoke test. Ugh. Yeah, the switch thrown. Yes! That was correct. But nothing else happened. Ooh, I don't like that. Oh, you know why? My screen is off. It helps to turn your monitor on when you're actually doing something like this, folks. It really helps out. Oh, I'll give myself another heart attack yet. Let's try this one more time. Well, it starts sorta, but that's it. Let's go into VCR mode so I can see what the heck is going on here. Okay. Aha! And there it is. Galaxian. So that is working. Ha 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 ha! Though it doesn't head knock the way I'm used to hearing this thing. I guess that's just how these old drives sound. But as we can see, there it is. It's working very clearly. Huh. Now, if you excuse me, folks, I think I'm going to give this a try and see how this thing works. Again, I don't have a fully functioning keyboard, so I don't know how well it'll function. But can't hurt to give it a shot, right? Spacebar to continue. Oh, my spacebar doesn't work. Oh, that's nice. Unless I actually am playing it and I just don't realize it. Oh, there we go. Now it works. Well, that does kind of work, I guess. So, as it turns out, this was a rousing success. I had a little trouble getting some of my games to work, but that turned out to be a problem with my joystick, which apparently needs help, unfortunately. But anyway, let me just show you. Turn everything back on again. Hopefully it doesn't make a liar. Again, you'll note that it doesn't head knock that particular drive. It just starts up like it is. Let me go ahead and actually load Choplifter here. Over here, let's get you over to my computer, to my screen. Really, this is one of the lower end games, but it's one of my favorite ones to play on this. I'm using an old school official Apple joystick, which is not in great shape. The buttons don't work quite right on it, although it is pretty well centered. This thing is still struggling to load it. There we go. Now it's coming up. I know it looks bad, but that's actually what it's supposed to be like. Rescue hostages. Use the joystick. I just tap one of my buttons right over here. And yeah. Let's see how good I can do with this here. Turn the chopper around. And away we go. See if we can rescue some people here. My favorite games. I'd shoot these guys, but again, the problem with this particular joystick is the buttons aren't working. I think the controls are shot. I think the button switches themselves are shot. And I just got hit. And of course, that's the end of the game. So I'm going to have to see if I can fix one of these joysticks. I have a few of these laying around. Not all of them work. I think I reflowed the solder on this joystick and I got it to work at one point and it was working really well. And then suddenly I remember it didn't work so well. And I'm starting to realize, yes, it did. Indeed, it didn't work so well. Let's fly back home. Across the yard. And the chopper and get at least one person safe, or 3, I think it is in there. That is one person safe. Right, let's turn around. That should fire, but as you see, I'm pressing a button here and it's not doing anything. I like the clickiness on this, but I don't like the fact it doesn't respond to commands. It does kind of stink in that regard. And I just crashed into a jet. So it does work, and I'm glad to see I was able to bring this thing back to life. But considering the fact that this particular computer was written off, essentially from what I can tell by the previous owner, as being dead and doomed, and basically sold to me for parts, and I now have it running in really great shape. This goes to show you, just because you don't pay a lot for something doesn't mean it's hopeless. And this thing is really in great shape. It's enhanced. It's got the memory expander in place now. It's got the big mess of wires drive in there. That's just why it doesn't head knock, which is unusual, which is ironic on that one. But anyway, I was able to get it running, and I'm very happy with that. So I'm going to call this project a success. Guess I'll get down to repairing some more joysticks so I can get better functionality out of this thing. Alrighty, so I'm coming to the last part of this project, at least for the time being. I've been having a lot of fun with this. I've been playing games, especially Choplifter. I'm hopelessly addicted to that game. I love that. I was going to try Moon Patrol. Haven't gotten to that yet. There's still one little detail I want to take care of on this thing. I never changed the power supply, and that's not recommended. You should always not deal with these Rafer caps. Either get rid of them or swap the power supply out. I had one on order, but it's going to take forever to get here, as I had to have it shipped someplace else because of how rural I am. I couldn't get it shipped right to my house, so it's going to take a while to get here. The end result, I'm now going to have to come up with something else to fix this. Ooh, I just found some nasty dust in here. I don't know where that came from. Anyway, so my way of around this is really quite simple. I've bought myself a vintage replacement part. I just pulled this out of the box. This is by ADP or something like that. It's the newer style power supply that they produced. It's an aftermarket job. It's designed to slot right in. This is completely unused new old stock, and you can see inside it. And the caps on this look perfect. There are no Rafer caps, thank goodness. And yeah, it'll be perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and install this and then give it one last test. And after some choice adjectives, I have this out, and that is one nasty looking power supply. So I'm glad I pulled this thing. I haven't checked inside it yet. I kind of get queasy working with electronics. I don't want to get myself shocked or electrocuted, so I probably won't take this apart myself. I may send it out to be rebuilt at one point. I'm not sure. Haven't decided yet, but anyway, that's out. Time to put the new one in and clean up afterward, and actually clean up stuff first. And for cleanup, I'm just going to rely on some good old-fashioned IPA soaked on a paper towel. Quick drying stuff. Oh, this thing is covered with dust in here. Oh my god. I may have to get more of this. Luckily, I have plenty of it. To clean this up, I'm going to have to go over the whole thing and just get rid of it. Oh, I should be careful getting too close to the motherboard, shouldn't I? Well, there it is back in. I'm not too happy about the way this fits, though. There's a lot of excess wire, and unlike before, I don't have a way of running this around it because, as you can see, this is a different design. That, again, it's not an official Apple power supply, which ironically is a good thing, even though they are very well built. It's just those infamous Rafer caps. But anyway, standard three-prong outlet. In case you're wondering, by the way, let me make sure this is off because the switch is actually on there. That's a good idea. You don't want to plug it in and have it start up on you. Good note on these things. These power supply, the cable for this thing, if you don't get it, don't freak out. It's not hard to come by. It's the same type you get in a modern computer power supply. It's just a simple plug to get the power to it. All the voltage is handled by the power supply. So, okay, moment of truth. Let's see if she fires up. Hopefully it doesn't catch fire. Oh, nervous. Yep, that does it. And if we look on my screen, there it goes. Wolfenstaffel Wolfenstein, so it's working fine. Oh, okay, so with that, I completed the last of the upgrades I wanted to do to this thing. I'm going to probably put this away for storage for a while now, as I have other projects I want to get done with Apple IIs and such. But yeah, that brings this particular unit to a close. So anyway, thank you for watching along for me if you've made it this long. Hopefully this comes out pretty well, as I'm going to have to do a lot of editing. Thank you very much again for watching, and as always, keep the metal side down, and of course, like and subscribe. It really helps me a lot.